Well, the big question of the day is, are we going to get clean paint lines? But before we get to that, we've got a lot of snow and ice that came last night, and that's got to get moved out of the way. I didn't think I was going to make it up the driveway today, but the snow tires came through, and we got a good layer of ice on top of this snow, so it kind of held the overall snow total down. So we'll get this fired up and get the ice cleaned off here, let it warm up a little bit, and see how we can move this stuff. I'm gonna let this heat run for a little while, see if we can't get some of that ice to defrost. Got some things I can do up at the house while we're working on that. As I wait for the tractor to warm up and let that warm up, I'm gonna replace out my filtration boxes. You may have seen the earlier video that I did. These are called Corrosi Rosenthal boxes. Did quite a bit of testing on these during COVID. Somebody had on my Facebook had commented about a fire concern, but they actually tested these, and there is not a concern for fire. They've been kind of marked safe for it, but what happens is you'll notice that they stop moving air because they get so much dust and particles built up in them. So what I've done, initially I had some really kind of high level filters with these, and when I realized how much dust there was, what I've done now is gone down to a lower level filter to get primarily the dust right now. We're still sanding and dusting and then all that off spray from the paint and things. So this right here is from Home Depot, just their FPR5 Dust and Pollen. This 3-pack here was about $12, and so I'm doing these, and then after we get through all the sanding and the dusting, then I'll set one up with the MERV 13 ones again. But these are quite a bit cheaper, and I think for the type of stuff we're dealing with right now, just as effective. But just to show you the contrast, these charcoal filters here, if you look at the outside of that, and then if you look at the black here on this side, it just shows you the difference. That's what it looked, the black is what it looked like beforehand. It's like using the heater worked. On the inside, we've gotten that ice cleared off here. Just a little bit left on the driver's side, but the front windshield melted up. So we'll get this off and get rolling. Because we have the ice, this is heavy, I'm going to leave it in low today. Typically I snow blow in medium, but I don't want to break a shear pin. I think it's probably the right approach with the heavier material, even though it's not having much trouble with it. It's probably the right approach to keep it down low. This is the problem you run into with this wetter material, is that it will jam up your auger spot here. So we gotta chisel this all out. I got some Pam spray. Maybe try that after, see if that helps things stay lubricated and keep it moving. Well, what I didn't realize was that I actually had broken a cotter pin there on the, that's why it wasn't spinning. That's what had happened last time is I got it all cleared out and then I went to go snow blow and everything got all seized up again on me. So all right, should be back in action. So it's been going well since the cotter pin change. Haven't had any more issues. Throwing it really well and going slow. I've got it in low gear and our base layer still isn't frozen. It's been such a kind of up and down temperature wise winter. We're going into a stretch here where we're going to have at least a week or so of winter. So we'll have to see what that entails. It's kind of neat if you can see where the ice is bouncing off the ice sheet over on the side. It'd be great runner sled conditions. If you had a good hill covered in this, you go forever with this stuff on. Before, I had seen this cotter pin laying on the ground up on the driveway, and I was like, where is that from? Well, then, just as I was backing up, I saw this pin down here, which is a part of our subframe, laying down here. So, wow, let's get that back. This really illustrates the importance of tightening this down, which I had done because early in the year, this was loose and the whole subframe had fallen off on me. And so I've been prioritizing making sure that's tight. So when that pin dropped out, that safety pin, we went all that way and that back pin fell out, but the subframe still didn't fall out because that had been tightened. Now obviously it was taking more pressure, so it got loosened up, but able to tighten it back up, and we're back in action. Well, that was more of an adventure than I was anticipating, but thankfully we were able to work through things pretty quickly. And you know, some of the lessons that I've learned from earlier experiences are bearing fruit and paying off. And now it's time to head inside, get working on some painting. Yeah! Going with a few different strategies for getting these clean lines. Here in Lucas's room, this is a red wall, and because it's red, this is going to need multiple coats. So more than two. So what I've done here, I've got the green frog tape on, and I've got a sponge that has a little bit of moisture in it. And so I read this in a comment thread. And by putting some moisture on here, I'm trying to activate this paint blocking technology that when that moisture gets in, it seals that seam. So my hope is that by doing this with water, the red doesn't have to seep through. And I just want to leave this up here because I'm going to do multiple coats with it there. So a little bit on, just a little bit of that paint's coming off on there. Let's see how this works later. Now, in this room where I don't need more than 2 coats, I've already put the frog tape up here on the seam. And so I'm going to use a method that I came across from the Idaho painter. And we're going to put a thin bead of caulk on this. I'm using a clear latex. And all we're trying to do is help that paint sealing technology in the frog tape. Kind of add some insurance to get that liquid on it. I'm going to wipe it down, then we're going to paint this, and then we're going to take it off before it actually has a chance to dry. Alright, so I'm not going to roll the whole wall. I just brushed in these edges here, and I do want to roll kind of up to this spot, and then my plan at that point is to pull this tape off, because the idea is that you don't want to leave it on super long. That roller is a little wet from getting cleaned out. Okay. So should be good now to pull that tape. So I'm pretty happy with it. I do have some spots that are going to need to be touched. If you look down here, it pulled it off a little bit. Just some of the paint on this wall got pulled off there. But overall, good result. Here's another spot with the tape pulled off on my wall. Actually, this happened when I was putting the frog tape on. I was readjusting it. So I have to touch those spots up, and I think that's more of a taping job than thing. But it looks like that caulking method really performed well there on these seams. So a little bit of touch up. Now, kind of the last thing is when you're doing this, don't be too quick to clean everything up and get moving, because you may find that you have some kind of roller dripping spots, especially if your roller was like wet like mine was. And so just gonna wait a minute and see if there's anything that I just need to go over quick, and because there's some dripping or something like that going on. I had some battery dying issues with me, so I didn't get all of the edges, but I'll show you quick each of the feature wall rooms. This is the red room. It's got a 3rd coat, and I may do a 4th coat on it tomorrow. We're gonna wait to pull the green tape off until I'm done putting the final coats. We'll see what that does to the edges and what touch-up we need related to those. But this red paint is really runny. I didn't even realize that I got a little streak down there, so have to go over that. For the pink wall, this wall covered awesome with 2 coats, and I'm pretty happy with this edge. I didn't tape it as perfectly, but it comes out pretty close. There's a little bit at the top that I wish I'd gotten a little differently, but it's pretty close. I'm happy. With the purple, I've got a spot down here that I got to hit right center there. And I wasn't sure if this was going to need a 3rd coat, but after looking at how it's covered here, I think we're going to be good with the 2nd coat. This was the one that I used the caulk on, and that worked well, but I don't really think it was necessary. I didn't get much different results than just using the frog tape and pressing it down itself. Here's the last one, the yellow. These lines came out nice and crisp. All I did here was just that tape and just pushed it down. I got a little spot up in the top corner, just a touch up, and tomorrow we should be ready to get the ceilings done. So that's going to wrap this one up. Successful day, long day. Tomorrow I'll be back to work on the ceilings here on the 2nd floor, and our mutter and taper should be done on the 1st floor. That should be ready. You can start dusting that down, getting the windows, getting things masked off, getting it prepped, and getting ready to rock and roll on the 1st floor. Thanks for checking this one out. See you next time.